We like to believe that our lives can be neatly designed, that with enough thinking, planning, and foresight, we can map out the perfect career and arrive at the exact place where our talents will be most valuable. But specific knowledge doesn't work that way. It refuses to be scheduled, predicted, or reverse engineered. Specific knowledge cannot be planned. It can only be discovered. Specific knowledge is deeply personal. It sits at the intersection of who you are, what you enjoy, and what the world happens to need at a particular moment in time. Because it is so contextual, no school can fully teach it, and no curriculum can guarantee it. If it were easily transferable, it would already be widespread, automated, or outsourced. The very fact that specific knowledge is rare is what makes it valuable. Most people try to plan their way into importance. They ask safe questions: what skills are in demand, what careers are stable, what path has worked before. These questions produce reasonable answers, but they also produce crowded paths. When you follow a plan that many others can follow, you compete on effort rather than uniqueness. You may succeed, but you will never be irreplaceable. Discovery works differently. Discovery requires movement. It requires doing things before you fully understand them and committing to paths without guarantees. You don't wake up one day knowing exactly what you're good at. You learn it by engaging with the world and watching how you respond. Some activities drain you quickly. Others hold your attention for hours without effort. Some problems frustrate you endlessly. Others feel like puzzles you want to return to. These signals only appear when you are in motion. Planning assumes you already know yourself. Action reveals who you actually are. Many people delay action because they are waiting for clarity. They want to feel confident before they start, but clarity is a side effect of action, not a prerequisite. You try something, you learn what you like and dislike, you adjust, and you try again. Each iteration removes a little uncertainty. Over time, patterns emerge, interests deepen, skills stack. What once felt like randomness begins to look like direction. Specific knowledge also carries a certain irrationality. From the outside, it may look risky or unstructured. From the inside, it feels inevitable. You're drawn to it not because it promises success, but because you can't help but explore it. This is why external advice often fails here. Others can't see the internal pull you feel, and they can't measure the quiet satisfaction you get from learning or building in a particular domain. Failure is part of the discovery process. When you plan, failure feels like a mistake. When you explore, failure is data. Each failed attempt teaches you what doesn't fit, narrowing the space until what remains feels natural. Over time, you stop forcing yourself into roles and start shaping roles around yourself. Specific knowledge emerges slowly, then all at once. One day, you realize that what felt like scattered experiments have converged into a coherent advantage. You speak a language others don't. You see problems others overlook. And it doesn't feel like work, because it grew out of genuine interest and sustained action. You couldn't have planned this path if you tried, but once you've discovered it, it's obvious why it could only have been yours. From an early age, we're taught to treat life like a checklist: get the right grades, earn the right degree, collect the right titles. Credentials become signals of safety, proof that we are moving in the right direction. But while credentials can open doors, they rarely reveal where you truly belong. Specific knowledge doesn't grow from permission, it grows from curiosity. Curiosity is quiet and often inconvenient. It doesn't announce itself with deadlines or certificates. It shows up as a persistent interest, a question you keep returning to, or a topic that pulls you in even when there's no obvious reward. Unlike credentials, curiosity is not designed to impress others. It exists purely for you. That's precisely why it's valuable. Credentials are standardized. They exist to measure people at scale. Curiosity is individual. It reflects how your mind naturally works. When you follow credentials, you optimize for what is accepted. When you follow curiosity, you optimize for what is unique. The world has an endless supply of qualified people. What it lacks are people who are genuinely obsessed with their craft. Many people suppress curiosity because it doesn't look practical. It may not fit neatly into a job description or align with a well-defined career ladder. There is often social pressure to justify your interests in terms of outcomes. How will this pay? What will this lead to? But curiosity doesn't respond well to interrogation. It thrives when given room to wander, explore, and deepen over time. When you act on curiosity, learning becomes effortless. You don't need discipline to stay engaged. You don't need motivation hacks to keep going. The work itself becomes the reward. Hours pass unnoticed. Concepts connect naturally. What feels like play to you looks like hard work to others. That is a strong signal. It's telling you where your specific knowledge might live. Credentials train you to wait for instructions. Curiosity trains you to ask better questions. In a fast, changing world, this difference matters. Many credentialed skills expire quickly. They are tied to tools, frameworks, or systems that eventually change. Curiosity-driven learning adapts. A curious person keeps updating their mental models, not because they have to, but because they want to understand how things work. Following curiosity doesn't mean rejecting structure or formal learning entirely. It means using them as tools, not as identities. The degree, the title, or the certification should support your interests, not replace them. When credentials lead and curiosity follows, you end up chasing validation. When curiosity leads and credentials follow, you build real leverage. There is also a compounding effect. Small curiosities, explored consistently, begin to intersect. A passing interest in technology blends with writing. A fascination with psychology meets business. Over time, these intersections create perspectives that are hard to replicate. No committee could have designed them. They only emerge through sustained attention and genuine interest. The most valuable people are rarely the most credentialed. They are the ones who cared longer than others, explored deeper than others, and followed questions that didn't have obvious answers. They didn't wait to be chosen. They chose what fascinated them and let the results speak later. In the end, credentials tell the world you are approved. Curiosity tells you where you are alive. Specific knowledge grows where you feel most alive, and no certificate can point you there. We tend to think of identity as something fixed, something we must define early and defend forever. We ask, "Who am I?" as if the answer should arrive fully formed, but identity is not declared, it is built. And it is built through small, repeated experiments that compound over time. Most people wait for certainty before they act. They want to know the outcome before they begin. But life doesn't reward certainty, it rewards engagement. Small experiments lower the cost of action. They allow you to move without needing permission, confidence, or a grand vision. You try something small, observe the results, and adjust. This simple loop, repeated over years, quietly shapes who you become. An experiment can be modest, writing online with no audience, building a tiny project, learning a skill just well enough to test it in the real world, having conversations with people you admire. None of these actions seem identity-defining in the moment. But they create evidence. Each action answers a small question. Do I enjoy this? Am I curious enough to continue? Do I want to get better at this? Identity emerges from evidence, not intention. When experiments are small, failure loses its sting. If something doesn't work, you haven't failed as a person. You've simply collected information. This mindset frees you to explore honestly. You stop protecting an imagined future self and start discovering your actual self. Over time, you abandon paths that drain you and double down on those that energize you. The real power of small experiments lies in their ability to stack. Skills rarely exist in isolation. A bit of design combined with basic coding. Writing paired with deep thinking, sales mixed with empathy. Each experiment adds a layer. Individually, they seem unremarkable. Together, they form a profile that is hard to replicate. This is how uniqueness is built, not through dramatic pivots, but through accumulation. As experiments compound, external feedback begins to shift. People start associating you with certain capabilities. They come to you with specific problems. Opportunities appear that didn't exist before. Not because you announced a new identity, but because your actions made it visible. Reputation is simply identity observed from the outside. Importantly, this process cannot be rushed. Compounding works quietly and slowly, then suddenly. For a long time, it feels like nothing is happening. Then one day, it's obvious. Looking back, the path seems coherent, even inevitable, but forward, looking, it was just a series of small bets placed with curiosity and intent. Many people resist experimentation because they fear inconsistency. They worry that trying many things makes them look unfocused. In reality, the opposite is true. Rigidity early on is often a sign of fear, not clarity. Flexibility allows you to adapt as you learn more about yourself and the world. Consistency emerges later, once the signal is strong. Eventually, you stop asking who you want to be. The question answers itself. Your calendar, your skills, your relationships, and your contributions tell a clear story. You are what you repeatedly do, especially when no one is watching. Small experiments are not distractions from identity. They are the only way identity is formed. Over time, what began as curiosity turns into competence, and competence turns into character. That is how action compounds into identity.